will increasing interest rates also, will it likely lower inflation?
I think it's important for us to state that the time-tested monetary policy theory has shown that the one and the easiest way to tame inflationary pressure is to raise rates, and that is the most preferred options that have been adopted globally. And what does that also mean? That if you want to see the success in reining in inflation, you have to try as much as possible to raise your rate to a level that is equal or possibly even higher than inflation, so that your inflation rate must lag your policy rate. If your inflation rate does not lag policy rate or interest rates, you have to do so aggressively, because it results in what we call negative interest rate, which is itself a disincentive to investment. So when you ask the question, how am I sure? I will say, time-tested monetary policy theory says that this is the right way to go. The reason is because if you fail to raise rates because you are afraid that raising rates, in some cases, like you said, or like you are seeing now already globally, even in the advanced economies, if you say you will not raise rates because it will retard growth, whether you like it or not, whether in the short run or in the long run, not raising rates will still retard growth as long as inflation keeps going up. So it is therefore imperative that you must raise rates in order to rein in inflation. Yes, it will retard growth, but it is important that you know that the raising of rate is what will help you to slow down the rate of inflation. And how will it eventually retard growth? You raise rates, you don't raise rates, you remain mute. What will happen is that consumption, eventually you'll find that consumption and investment expenditure will be affected, because purchasing power of the citizens or the consumer will erode and completely possibly dissipate. Or you will also see that once inflation continues to bite, what you can buy the quantity of goods you can buy with some money will reduce. And that is what also helps to increase the level of poverty in your country. So you don't have a choice but to raise rates. Our own study, our research study at Central Bank has shown us that once inflation trends above 12.5, or let's even say 13%, it will retard growth. We have seen inflation in the last 4 months move so aggressively in Nigeria. So it is difficult for us, for this MPC, with all the data available, with all the research that has been conducted, it is difficult for us not to go in the very aggressive way we decided to go today. We know to some it is not what is expected, because some of them will come out and say, look, we are trying to retard growth, it will make the cost of borrowing more expensive and the rest of them. But I can tell you that this is the best option at this time that we had to adopt.